Hello, everyone, and welcome to UGA Sports Rumors versus Facts. It's myself, Blaine Gilmer, here with Trent Smallwood tonight. Jed May, national analyst Jed May, has some personal stuff to take care of. So Jed's out there doing some other stuff tonight, but he'll be back with us next week. But Trent, how was the weekend, man? How's everything going?
It's going good. Just moving into getting closer to football season again. Spring high school spring practices going on all around the state. I guess some might be finishing up, but some of them just started in Gwinnett County and stuff last week, and I know some Hall County schools are going on. So just some you can feel football starting back up, and then we got the Rivals Camp coming up in a couple weeks. So.
And official visits are looming. They'll be here in a couple of weeks. Actually, a big official visit that was announced that'll be later this month. Actually, 11 days from now, Jaden Wayne is going to show up, and we're going to have some questions about that later. But Trent, that's a huge official visit, especially to have so early on in the month of May. There were people on the vault kind of jockeying back and forth as well. Is that a good thing for Georgia to have him so early in the official visit process, or would they rather have him later on? I mean, what's your opinion on that with your experience and all this?
I mean, it's change. It changes. It just depends on the prospect. I think getting a kid here from that far away is a good thing to get him early in the process. And Georgia's done a good job on these on-campus visits, and it kind of sets the bar high for his next visits or what visits he takes afterwards. So, it's worked in Georgia's favor having the first or second visit. It's also worked in their favor having the last visit. I know when it comes down to closer to December on signing day, he would love to have that last visit, whether it's unofficial or official. But I don't think an official visit's bad. Kind of setting that bar high for him this early in the process.
Yeah, I think that is definitely the case. That if you're looking at the pros and cons, that's definitely the pro, right? Georgia does the best job of anybody when it comes to on-campus recruiting. And when you have that much on-campus, recruiting prowess, and you're able to get him onto your campus first, your hope is that Jaden Wayne falls in love with Athens and things like that. If you're Georgia, but the negative is it's a long time between the end of May and December when signing day comes around for a guy like Jaden Wayne. So the hope will be to get him back, I'm sure, in the fall for an unofficial visit to watch a game and stuff like that. I know he did that last year as well. But you're right, coming all the way from Tacoma, Washington, that's not an easy trip out. So Dogs get the first crack at Jaden Wayne early on, but also they get to have a high-profile offensive line target in Monroe Freeling. Monroe Freeling's a guy that Stacey Searles went up to his high school not too long ago. They've been recruiting him fairly hard. He's going to be in that weekend as well. So, Trent, with Jaden Wayne being in and Monroe Freeling being in there, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another couple names trickle out here before that weekend, a couple weeks from now, because, it's highly unlikely they're just going to have two guys there. They like to have a good group of guys there so they can kind of go through that official visit experience together.
Oh, definitely. And it wouldn't surprise me all throughout June that we've discussed some names that'll be here. A couple of those weekends, but they don't like to bring in one or two targets. I think you'll see 4 or 5 targets be on campus. And it might be a case where they bring in some unofficials with the officials to have those guys there.
Other classes, maybe?
Like some 24 kids, and I know Georgia's got some camps going on, early June, but talking about that, I could see some 24 kids being on campus or bringing in a couple other official visits, because you're going to start seeing some names, especially after this draft. You're going to start seeing names trickle in, and you start seeing some official visits pop that are not really publicized.
Yeah, and a guy that comes to mind to me would be a Troy Bowles, right? High profile guy. His dad's an NFL head coach. So he wants to keep a low profile anyways. But when it comes down to it, he's a guy that he's just kind of shown up before in Athens and kind of low key. Nobody expected him to. But on another note, that first weekend in June, we do know some big names that are coming in, and wanted to hit through that first. I mean, Trent, Georgia did this last year when they had Branson Robinson and Oscar Delp and so on and so forth. A lot of the key targets in that first real official visit weekend of the summer, and it looks like they're trying to do the same thing with guys like Justice Haynes going to be in there, Caleb Downs at the same time, Jalen Hell coming in. I mean, there's a lot of talented guys coming that first weekend, and some emphasis on some offensive weapons as well.
Yeah, and you always want to, I guess, get your guys that are kind of leaning towards Georgia, and that's when you really want that that first crack, because you want to go in and get a commitment if it's possible, something like Justice Haynes, or one of those guys that Georgia's kind of stood out for throughout the process, and you like the first crack, and maybe get a commitment from one of those guys, and or one or two or three of those guys, because they've done it before, and get them on the recruiting trail, and even if they decide to take more official visits, you got them in the state of Georgia, you can always bring them back for unofficial visits, and I'm sure those kids will be back for unofficial visits anyways. So getting the first crack at these guys, and like I said, setting that bar high, and maybe I'm grabbing a couple commitments, that'll be a big weekend.
Yeah, and two, it's also something worth point out, like a guy like Madden Sanker has pointed out that he may not even take an official visit to Georgia, but that's just because he lives in the state of Georgia and he can go over there anytime he wants. So he's going to use those official visits to get paid, get those paid trips elsewhere where they
yeah. I don't see why you wouldn't, because if I was going through the process, I would be, take 5 places that I've never visited, and I'll be like, hey, I want to visit these 5 different places, and this is a free opportunity to do so. So,
the legend, we appreciate you coming in from Salt Lake City, Utah, David Relaford. We appreciate David being on here with us, guys. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We are UGA Sports Rumors versus Facts here on the UGAsports.com YouTube channel. If you don't subscribe already, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you get that ping on your phone every time we go live, or whether it's Coach Donnan going live with Roddy and Dane, Paul and Ben and those guys on Sunday nights. I mean, there's lots of content that goes live over here in the season. We have the post game reaction, overreaction shows, a lot of stuff coming up that's fun to watch, and we're gonna have recruiting covered all summer. So make sure you do that for us as well. We really appreciate it. We have the podcast version that comes out the next day on each one. So, Trent, right now, when it comes down to it, I mean, Georgia's sitting, I believe, nine commits right now in the 2023 class. I believe is 8 or 9 is the number. I think it's 9 right now that they're at. I'd have to double check, but still a lot of work to do in this class. And the big domino that everybody's waiting on is Arch Manning. And when it comes down to it, you seem to hear different things every day out of Arch Manning, not from Arch Manning, but out of people who at least act like they know something out of the Arch Manning camp, which I don't think many people at all do, because they've kept it very, very close to the vest. But I will say this, I don't think that anybody can just go outright and say, hey, this is what's going on with Arch Manning right now, because I don't think that it's that clear and cut. But I do think it has whittled its way down to where Georgia finds itself in very, very select company in this recruitment.
Yeah, no doubt. And a lot of times in these recruitments, you'll build that relationship with the kid. You'll kind of have the scoop, and you're just sitting there holding on to it, and you're just waiting. But in this circumstance, you're kind of in the dark when it comes to the kid. You have to trust more of your sources with the schools and everything like that. And right now, I think Texas feels okay about their chances. Georgia feels really good about their chances, and I think Alabama feels their chances are fading a little bit. So I think it's Georgia and Texas with a few other schools trailing behind. But I think just talking to numerous sources, I think Texas feels okay where they're at. I think Georgia's not ready to move on to a secondary quarterback or a backup plan necessarily. I think Georgia feels good where they're at, and we'll see what happens this summer. But I could, if it does go down in the next month or so, or next 2 months, it could be a very big summer for Georgia.
Also, people were talking about on the vault. They were like, "Hey, when it comes down to it, how do you think Arch will make a decision one way or another?" I kind of am of the opinion the family is so tied in, Trent, with ESPN that I would have to think that ESPN is going to have some kind of exclusive right on making the announcement. I don't think I even quoted on the vault. I said I don't think it'll be a LeBron James in the boys club scenario, where he announced he was taking his talents to South Beach. I think it'll be just a well-written statement with some kind of nice graphic on there, and they'll just put it out, on the airwaves out there, and then everybody will hit their reactions after that. But I don't know. What are your opinions? Do you think he'll do some kind of live announcement, or do you think it'll just be kind of, as I said there?
Yeah, I could see that. With the family having the ESPN ties, and I could also see a situation where he just randomly puts out a tweet just all of a sudden.
His first tweet. I don't think he's tweeted yet.
He
That's
don't even
genius.
tweet.
Oh, yeah, he's got a Twitter account.
He's got a Twitter, but he don't even tweet.
If that was his first tweet, that would be genius. That would be great PR by him.
But I don't think he's going to necessarily have like he's going to have a ceremony at a school where everybody can come out, media can come out. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it'll be a more like you discussed, or just something random just happened, because he's not type kid to do that.
Trent, Jeff P47's telling us to keep an eye on those Gainesville Red Elephants, and both of mine and your backyard right here, saying that Josh Niblett is going to do a good job. The former Hoover coach coming over. I don't know if he's got all the talent he needs in there yet to compete at the 7A, or are they dropping down to 6A this upcoming
I think
year?
it's 6A, but I did hear that they've gone from 76 to 112 kids in the football program.
Got to have the Jimmies and Joes out for sure.
So, I haven't seen what transfers or whatever such they've got in, but I've heard that there's been a lot of excitement at their spring practice.
Yeah, and when you talk about a guy like that, first of all, he's brought in a tremendous coaching staff. So no doubt that's a good call, Jeff P. But without further ado, we've kind of talked a little bit on Arch Manning. We've talked about the official visits coming up. Also, guys like wanted to mention out, Jamal Jarrett will be coming in more middle of the month. Anthony, man, I'm losing my train of thought there. The receiver from Arkansas, Anthony Evans the third, can absolutely fly 10.2.8, I believe, in the 100-meter dash. I mean, can absolutely fly. Is Georgia is all over him. He decommitted from Arkansas just a couple weeks ago. So, we'll see where Georgia stands after that official visit. But I know Brian McClendon's been on him hard. And speaking of wide receivers, Trent, Malik Benson, we'll have a question on Malik Benson, so we won't have to go, too in depth here. But I spoke to him. It's becoming more and more rare with these JUCO players, but when you got a guy who's averaged 28.6 yards per catch over 43 catches, that tells you he's looking to do one thing, and that's take the top off the defense. And Georgia could certainly use a guy on the outside like that.
Yeah, definitely. And JUCO's become more irrelevant. We were talking about before the show started, but you still have your guys every once in a while that don't get the grades, that might go to prep school, might go to JUCO, and they've had several cases. The Javon Wims and
Devontae Wyatt.
He was
from the same community college. He went to Hutchinson Community College, where Malik Benson is out of. So there's that connection there that Georgia say, hey, look, a guy from your school that you went to just got drafted in the first round. So, I mean, there's some ammunition there for Georgia.
Yeah, no doubt. And, and they're still going to have, there's still going to be prospects of those schools that they're going to go D1. And What a better fit would it be for Georgia to go in and land a guy that can come in and be ready day one at that wide receiver position. If you, especially bringing in, you're gonna have a new quarterback more than likely next year, whether it be, you know, whoever after Stetson Bennett. It could be one of the four guys, whoever Georgia brings in, plus the three guys on campus. So it'd be good to have a guy they can depend on in the receiving game coming in and at a JUCO.
Yeah, and he even when I was speaking to him last night, he was saying that experience level is something that sticks out to Brian McClendon, because they're going to have a lot of younger receivers. I mean, they'll also have, experienced guys with like AD Mitchell, providing everything comes back. He would be a junior, and Lad McConkey as well. But there's going to be a lot of young guys that are coming in that maybe don't have all those reps and things like that, and playing at Hutchinson Community College and having that at least to be in college. And Malik Benson was very upfront with why he was there. He said, "Hey, I just didn't care about school in high school." He said, "I've matured a lot." And things like that. So the guy was very, very forthcoming and a very mature young man in the conversation. So it was great to talk to him. And he is big on Brian McClendon. Said that Brian McClendon is one of the more genuine guys that he's talked to. It's a lot of talk outside of football. And Todd Munkin's been on with him on Zooms a couple of times, showing him how he would fit into Georgia's offense, showing him, things that he can do in his own film, breaking down his film with him. And Malik Benson was very impressed by that. We got Mike Free on here with us. Mike, thank you for joining us. Everybody on YouTube, if you don't mind, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. It really helps us. And like I said, subscribe. If you're on here and that subscribe button is lit up red, go ahead and hit it. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button to make sure you subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications. We really appreciate it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get to our questions while we're here from the UGA Sports Vault. All right, Jar 52. What are our realistic chances with Jaden Wayne? Trent, like I said, he's out from the West Coast up there in Washington State area, but he's got Dan Lannon, who was his primary recruiter here at Georgia, that's recruiting him hard at Oregon, of course, his home state of Washington, Georgia, Alabama, a lot of schools involved in this. And what are your thoughts on a guy like Jaden Wayne?
Well, you look at the draft and you look at what Georgia did, and I think you see that, and you see guys like Trayvon Walker going right there at the first pick, and it's much bigger than a individual coach or like Dan Lanning was at Georgia, assistant coach. You kind of look at the program and you look at how the program's built, and you look at Kirby Smart, and I think Georgia's got a chance this recruitment. Now I'm not going to say they lead by any means, because there's a long ways to go in this one, but having the first crack at it, and being able to sell the program and where it's at right now is at an all-time high, coming off a national championship and having three defensive linemen are drafted in the first round, and being able to sell that Trayvon Walker. I think Georgia's sitting in a good spot, just going into the official visit, just for strictly, how high the program sits right now.
Yeah, with Jaden Wayne, I mean, talking about being while the draft was going on, Kirby Smart was, after Trayvon Walker gets drafted, he's FaceTiming Jaden Wayne, in the green room there at the NFL draft, and communicating to me like, hey, you're the next one up, that kind of stuff to go after him. And people want to talk about, oh, well, Trayvon Walker, he didn't get to, accumulate these kind of numbers and things like that. And some people even question the number one overall pick. But you know what? Trayvon Walker has 37 million guaranteed reasons to be thankful for his time at Georgia and how it developed him. So I'm sure that's something that they may even get. I wouldn't be shocked for them to get Trayvon on the phone with Jaden Wayne and talk to him about, hey, here's why you should go to Georgia and things like that. Those ex-players, those former players, especially, you see the guys come back even from the first year or two under Kirby, Trent, Nick Chubb, all those guys come back, and you can just see the camaraderie there with Kirby and those ex-players. So, I mean, he's very much so a player's coach. I wouldn't be surprised if those guys almost voluntarily wanted to help recruit for Georgia by getting on the phone with some of those guys.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he's a player's coach. Like we talked about last week, he's a coach that probably don't get much sleep, but he's all about football. He's all about his players. He treats them like his kids. Yes, he's going to get after them. I watched that. I don't remember N'Kobe Dean interview where they're talking about how Kirby said, "I don't care how tired you are," but he's all about the kids. He's all about those players, and he's going to put them in the best situation to succeed. Their stats might not always be what they want to be. Similar to the Jermaine Burton situation. He wanted more catches, he wanted more yards, so he went to Alabama. But at the same time, yards and catches are not going to necessarily get you drafted high. Looking at Trayvon Walker, he didn't know the best stats. And Jalen Carter's another example. Somebody talked about the Clemson DT, what's his name? What's his name?
Brzee or whatever.
Yeah, Brian Brzee. They said, who will have better stats next year? And I said, well, probably Brzee, because he plays in a different type system, and they play in a system where they're attacking upfield. He'll probably have more sacks, but Jalen Carter is probably going to be more than likely a top 5 pick after next year. And, Trey Scott will have another one to put on him. So it's not all about stats. It's all about,
Well, you saw Mel Kiper, the blowhard he is over there, saying he doesn't understand the Jordan Davis pick and all that. And he doesn't get after the passer and stuff. Jordan Davis affects a ball game. And I know the NFL is different and that they throw it all over the yard, all that kind of stuff. I understand. But still, I think that Jordan Davis has proven what kind of athlete he is in the middle, that he can be more versatile. He didn't have to do certain things at Georgia, because of the style of play and stuff like that. And same thing with Trayvon Walker. Trayvon Walker, I think, will actually get better in the NFL and do some things better in the NFL, because he was asked to do different things at Georgia than he's going to be asked. He's going to be told by the Jaguars, go get the quarterback. Yep. That's what he's going to be told. So it's going to be totally different. To your kind of connecting to your point with Brzee and Clemson and the numbers and him.
And I don't see how you can honestly sit there on TV and say, why would you take Jordan Davis? Just turn on the tape and see how he affects ball games. Just watch other teams run away from him, even when he's double teamed.
Yeah, Mel, just tell us you hadn't watched any Georgia games, Mel Kiper. We appreciate that. But no, that's always good to see those NFL guys that try to cram about a whole year's worth of prep into 3 days. Really enjoy that. So what's up, dogs? As way too early 2023 recruiting class final national ranking. If Arch comes, it should be very high, maybe number 1. So Trent, I think it's no secret now. Everybody knows that under Kirby Smart, you're not going to finish any worse than 5, guaranteed. He's never done it. If past performance is the greatest indicator of future performance, Georgia's going to be in that top 5. Question is, how high in that top 5?
Yeah, and a lot depends on how high Jed ranks our players. So we'll just leave it to him.
Oh boy, the vault is gonna love that. So Jed now in on the ranking system.
No, I think a lot of it depend on Arch Manning's decision, because more than likely he's going to be number 1 player in the country, or number 1 or number 2 at the very end, and a lot will come down to that, and especially when we were talking about Georgia and Alabama being in it, that number 1, kind of sets you apart because it has so many points, with it. So if Georgia can land Arch Manning, Georgia's going to finish 1 or 2, in my opinion. But if Georgia misses on Arch Manning, I still think they're going to be top 5, might be 3, somewhere around there. But
Georgia's going to have some of the classes right now, like Texas Tech, who's up at number 2. That's because they've got 15, 16, 3-stars signed and other or committed, and other people, they're going to fall down because of the average of the class and everything like that. But, Georgia, the quality of guys are going to be there, especially people don't want to hear it, Trent, but this defensive class, again, I know people are ready to see. I think you're going to see the number 1 running back in the country. Justice Haynes should be there. They should be able to take care of that. That always boosts you up. a guy like a Hakeem Williams, a highly rated receiver, guys that they feel pretty good about right now that ultimately will boost things up. Jamal Jarrett is a guy who I think is going to even continue to rise in the rankings. That guy, his body, Jed, the way it's transformed over the last 8-9 months. I mean, that guy had a little extra fluff to him, so to speak, before, and now saw a picture up there, and he's looking like something from a villain from a movie or something, man. I mean, he's all 340 pounds of muscle, it looks like, over there. So when it comes to a guy like a Jamal Jarrett, that if Georgia were to land him, one of the top interior defensive linemen, and Georgia, I think, is going to continue to clean up. Guys like Caleb Downs, can they pull a Caleb Downs into the class? You do that regardless of Arch Manning or not. You end up getting guys like Troy Bowles, like Caleb Downs, like other people. It's that are highly touted. Justice Haynes, that goes a long way to putting you up in there in that upper echelon of a class.
Yeah, I just I picture a Downs Starks safety tandem could be
Man,
one for the ages in Athens. So
talk about the athleticism between those two, just the pure athleticism would be, and then add guys like Nyland Green who haven't even tapped their potential yet. Nyland Green, Kamari Lassiter, Javon Bullard. Yes, I'll go ahead and tell you, I think Javon Bullard is one of the more underrated signings. Will go down as one of the more underrated signings in Kirby Smart's tenure, because when I watched him at Baldwin, and they would put him back at safety. He started off as a corner, right, in high school, but they put him back at safety when they would play like triple option and wing T type teams, Trent. And Javon Bullard just comes down and with reckless abandon, I mean, with bad intentions, and hits people. He was making tackles for a loss from safety at 10 yards. I mean, just flying downhill. So that's the kind of defensive minded guy that Kirby Smart loves, and I think he's going to be an underrated one.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think they got guys on campus, not only the guys that they're bringing in this class in the secondary, but the guys that you mentioned, Lassiter and those guys that are going to compete for that starting position or a starting position this year. You're returning Tyke Smith at safety, and you're returning William Poole at star, but William Poole is the first, I guess he just started 3 or 4 games this year. So there's going to be a lot of positions up for grab outside of Keely Ringo.
Yeah. I don't know if he's Tyron Matthew Jr. That's high praise right there, my man, but he's definitely a good player for sure. Jeff P says, I know Jed will have the Dogs in the top 5. Jed did go to Madison County High School. So Jed, he's counting on Jed in the national rankings over there. All right, B Hodge 0702. Trent needs to go ahead and put in that Arch future cast. We are all patiently waiting, especially since he called him a dog 3 weeks in a row now on the podcast. I think everybody knows a little bit of that is tongue in cheek there with Trent calling him. But listen, we do, both of us, 100% transparent, believe that Georgia is in as good a shape as anyone. But there's just so much ambiguity still around this recruitment. I don't think it'd be wise for anybody to put in a future cast on it.
No, and I think the fact is that Georgia feels good where they're at. And I think the staff feels good where they're at. I think Todd Monken and Buster whatever his name is,
Buster Faulkner.
Yeah, he feels good where they're at. I think a lot of Georgia staff, Kirby feels good where they're at, but there's still the chance that something crazy happens. I think Georgia is getting the right feedback. I think they're talking with the Manning family. That they feel good where they're at. That they feel comfortable where they're at. But there's still ways to go. And if I had to put a future cast in today, I would put it in Georgia. But let's wait till we can actually get closer to a decision date or find out when a decision date is, and then you'll start seeing flow.
Yeah, and people don't need to forget about Matt Luke in this recruitment either. I mean, there's deep ties. They spent a lot of time with the Manning family when he was the head coach at Ole Miss. I believe he played with Eli, correct? I mean, I think he played with Eli at Ole Miss. So when it comes down to it, there's connections there. And Matt Luke has not left Athens. He's going to be staying in Athens. And you saw the picture with the 5 former head coaches, or four former and the current head coach in Athens not too long ago. That Goff, Donnan, Dooley, Rick, and Kirby all there together. And Matt Luke staying in Athens, I think that's an underrated thing for Georgia as well, because I mean that shows the Manning family, hey, they talk constantly that the thing that you hear is the college experience is paramount in this. Like the college experience, and when it comes down to, I was reading an article the other day about revisiting for research purposes why Eli Manning didn't go to the San Diego Chargers, didn't want to, and Arch E. Manning, the grandfather in this whole deal, he was saying, hey, I wanted my kids when they were being recruited to go somewhere that they wanted to live as well, that they didn't mind being around. So that college experience, and I don't know, I guess Austin, Texas is a nice place to be, but I don't know if it's there's a better college atmosphere than Athens, Georgia. It's certainly a far cry from Tuscaloosa in terms of that matter. So I would give Georgia the leg up there, Trent. But if that's a key part, I think that says a lot, that Matt Luke stayed, the college atmosphere, the town, all that stuff.
Yeah, and you see what happens with Georgia. All these former head coaches always end back up in Athens. That's the place they always bring their families back. Rick was down in Miami. Where he was, I guess, from down in Florida, and he's back. He's back living in Athens. So it's a great place to be. It's a great place to live. It's a great college atmosphere, and that's a big part. That's definitely working in Georgia's favor.
Well, I was down in Miami area covering the Orange Bowl, and I was thankful, Roddy, for setting me up and everything down there. But I was very, very happy to be coming back to God's country up here in Northeast Georgia after being down there in Miami. Man, that's like I can't. I don't blame Rick and company for coming back from that one for sure. All right, one of our best questioners here on the vault, loyal questioners, Pine Tree One. Do you think we lead for Hakeem Williams? Well, I'd say this: the guy keeps showing up, Trent. A lot of visits here in this calendar year. I think 2 or 3 visits this calendar year, and I think Georgia really made a lot of ground there with that visit that he took over G-Day weekend. Kirby Smart, I think, got to spend a good bit of time with him in more of a relaxed environment. And I think that's something too, Trent, that people are like, well, don't they want some of these guys to take more visits on game day weekends and stuff like that? Well, it's more chaotic for the coaches. They enjoy the time when they get to spend time with them in the spring and summer and things of that nature.
Definitely, this is the more of the relationship building stage. I guess the spring, the fall is more. I've heard of some underclassmen, I'd say, that go and say, well, I just wish we'd have got to talk to the coaches, or we were on campus, but I wish we got to talk to the coaches. But during the spring, they get that opportunity. They have the junior days, and then they have they have all the guys in at different times. You mentioned Hakeem's been there, about 3 times. This is when they're building relationships, and having Brian McClendon on campus is definitely helping things in that department as well.
the D-Rock Irish says try the old Orange Bowl in Miami. That was an experience. I bet it was, man. Miami, a little bit different town, certainly different than Athens. But yeah, I think they're doing a good job with Hakeem Williams. Georgia certainly is looking for, like, the quote that I've gotten from a source in Athens is that there's no one currently on the roster like Hakeem Williams. If they secure him, that's a totally different type of receiver that they don't currently have. They've got some good ones. I believe what was it today? It was in the group chat. I think, wasn't it PFF or some of along those lines that ranked Georgia as having the greatest, the best overall receiving core coming back, including the tight ends and all that kind of stuff this year. So people forget, yes, they lost George Pickens, who goes the second round to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but George was hurt most of the year last year. And Jermaine Burton transfers to Alabama. But the 3 players that led Georgia in receptions last year, A.D. Mitchell, Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers, all come back. And, Eric Gilbert, if he is everything that people are projecting and touting him to be this fall, add a healthy Kieris Jackson, a healthy Don Blaylock, Georgia's wide receiver core all of a sudden comes one of the better ones in the country, in my opinion.
And maybe a healthy Aaron Smith. And I mean,
Yeah, that would be. He's like what, a touchdown catch every 3 receptions.
yeah. So Georgia ain't hurting for targets this year, especially at the. I mean, for playmakers at the wide receiver position or the tight end position, and we don't talk about enough Kenny McIntosh coming back in the receiving game as well. I know that he'll take on a bigger role. He'll take on more of a James Cook type role of how he's used. If we remember back to the Clemson game, Georgia was so limited at wide receiver that McIntosh was lining up in the slot. So we know what kind of playmaker he is. We saw the one-handed catch in the playoffs. So bringing back that playmaker that you can get the ball to in space as well.
Yeah, and then you even have a guy like an Oscar Delp who you can line up as a slot and just totally be a mismatch on a linebacker or safety because he runs really, really good routes. And the guy is 6'4", 225 pounds, not your normal 18-year-old. So Georgia not shy on weapons, but Hakeem Williams, I would today, if I had to put in a future cast today, like you with Arch Manning, I would give Hakeem Williams to Georgia. But like I said, a long way to go. I know with Jordan Atkinson being gone at Pittsburgh is actually, believe it or not, very heavily involved. And hey, people might laugh at that, but Trent, they've proven up at Pitt. I mean, Jordan Atkinson won the Bolitnikoff Award last year. I mean, so and now he's signing a multi-million NIL deal, multi-million-dollar NIL deal with somebody, likely USC, maybe Alabama, who knows? But they're a heavy player there, Miami. But Georgia's kind of competing with those schools.
I mean, Alabama keeps bringing people in. Jermaine Burton might not get no playing time.
Ooh, you talk about boo-boo face over there, man. He'll be very upset. You got Harrell coming in. If Atkinson comes in, the grass may not always be greener for sure. All right, PA Dog 610. Besides Malik Benson, have you heard any other JUCO prospects that Georgia is pursuing, whether offense or defensive side of the ball? I don't really hear a ton on JUCO guys. Malik Benson is really the most prominent one, I would say, maybe in all the country that Georgia has a shot with. Trent, I just think that the market for the JUCO guys has went down tremendously with the how loose the transfer portal is now.
Yeah, because I mean, it's almost like there's a JUCO route everywhere in the country. I mean, you can go to Texas for 2 years and you can transfer to Georgia. I mean, it's there.
Are you saying Texas is the JUCO compared to Georgia? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I mean, they kind of have been, but
you hear that, Arch?
That's what I'm talking about. There's an open. I mean, with it all being open now, you don't hear as much about JUCO prospects as you have in years past, except for the fact you had the Devontae Wyatts who Georgia had to send JUCO for a year. You had the Jermaine Johnsons you got from JUCO, but with the portal coming in and you just don't hear much about JUCO. You hear more about the guys that could be entering the portal and where Georgia might go in the portal. You don't hear as much about JUCO guys, but I think you'll start hearing some names this summer or early fall with some JUCO names popping up.
Yeah, I mean that those maybe tend to be a little bit later editions. I agree with that. So nobody other than Malik Benson right now, but I do believe that Georgia's got a good shot with Malik Benson. He's another guy. June 17th, he'll be in on his official visit. So go check out some of his film over there. I mean, he can take the top off of defense. Like I said, 28.6 yards per catch this past year, over 1,000 yards receiving, 43 receptions. The guy can really go get it for sure. And you talk about Kirby Smart continually. What's he said when people have asked him about the lack of explosive plays, over the last couple of years, things like that. And he says, our goal is to be explosive. Our goal is to be explosive. Well, quietly, Trent, they have accumulated Arian Smith, who, if he remains healthy, is one of maybe the fastest player in the country. They've got CJ Smith, who is a 10-2, 100-meter guy. They're recruiting Anthony Evans right now. not Anthony Edwards. He plays for the Timberwolves. Uh, but he did go to Georgia. Anthony Evans, they're recruiting him, a 10-2 100-meter guy that just decommitted from Arkansas, and now they're going after Malik Benson. Malik Benson told me last night he runs a 10-3-6 in the 100 meters. So I mean, these are all guys who have the ability to take the top off the defense. And arguably, I think Trent, I think Kearis Jackson is that guy this year for Georgia. I really think he's an explosive guy. He was just hampered all year last year, banged up with different nicks and bruises. And I think that between him and Aaron Smith, if they're on the field at the same time, and then Alad McConkey, all of those guys can run well.
Yeah, and you talk about explosive plays. Georgia was explosive last year in the passing game. I think they finished. Let's see, they finished 8th in the country for pass completions that went 30+ yards. So, I mean, Georgia was very explosive.
People like to rag on Stetson Bennett's arm. I think he had the top quarterback rating in the country on throws that were over 20 yards down the field. So, they were very, very efficient down the field last year for sure. All right, Trent, we got one last one from Sandbar Bathroom here. Is a linebacker haul of Raylan Wilson, CJ Allen, and Troy Bowles realistic, or would landing 2 maybe cause the 3rd to lose some interest? I don't think you're going to land all 3 of those. I don't think that there's anyway. I mean, you got Raul Aguirre, who's also going to be in that mix, and I think Georgia, with an in-state guy, has a good shot of bringing him into the fold. But I think that would be a little bit unrealistic there, Trent, don't you?
Yeah, and I don't think that just say landing 2 would cause a 3rd one to look elsewhere. I just don't think it's realistic for Georgia to land all 3 guys in this class. I mean, I don't think like if Raylan Wilson and CJ Allen was to commit, I don't think it's going to scare Troy away. I just think it's just looking at it from a realistic standpoint. I don't see all 3 in this class, but you can see 2 of those guys, and maybe whoever you said, Raul Aguirre.
He's a
tough name to say, man.
Yeah, he's a tough name to say.
But you could see 2 in him possibility, but I don't think you're gonna see all 3 in this class.
Yeah, and technically by Rivals, Gabriel Harris is listed as a defensive end, but he's a outside linebacker, so they do already have somebody on that edge out there. But these are all inside guys. I think CJ Allen is a guy that Georgia identified early on. Glenn Schumann liked him in camp. They've recruited him very, very intently. He's going to be coming in. He's going to be on that first official visit weekend with guys like Justice Haynes, with guys like Caleb Downs. So I think that shows that he's a high priority for Georgia. I think he's a guy that they would push to try to get a commitment from early on. Trent, there's going to be a couple guys in that official visit weekend that they say, hey, we would like to have your commitment now. Like there's going to be a couple guys that they're going to push. I think CJ Allen could be one of those, but Troy Bowles, if he's one of those that there's a spot for him, it doesn't matter what the numbers look like. It doesn't matter. He's a guy that they'll take. Raylan Wilson is a guy who they have a lot of interest in. He was committed to Michigan, but who knows? We'll see how that all ends up turning out.
Yeah, it would be Kirby's kind of recruited nationally since he's been here, pulling the Isaiah Wilsons and the DeAndre Swifts, guys like that. But yeah, if Kirby pulled Troy Bowles and Arch Manning in the same class, you're talking about yes, it's a national, but you're talking about an NFL head coach and then a player with 2 uncles. Were big time players. So
let's talk about that for a minute too, because I think it's widely known now. You heard the comments from the Green Bay Packers GM. You heard the comments that have come out of Jacksonville. You've heard the comments that have come several years now out of New England, places like that. There's not a head coach in the NFL, in the college ranks, except with the exception of maybe Nick Saban, that has more clout and more respect in the NFL ranks than Kirby Smart does. And I think that would have to go, because that Peyton Manning and Bruce Arians have a relationship, and Bruce Arians now being the GM there, or an executive in the Tampa Bay front office after stepping down from being the head coach of the Buccaneers, and Troy Bowles' dad, Todd Bowles, is the head coach there. That's another connection that you would think there's going to be some back channeling through with Georgia and Arch Manning and Troy Bowles. And Troy Bowles is a guy who's, Ohio State's heavily involved. Georgia's heavily involved. So it's all kind of interconnected, and you could see guys that we talked about, like a Jalen Hale, like a Hakeem Williams, like a Troy Bowles, like a Madden Sanker, like a Justice Haynes. All of these guys, that domino of Arch Manning, all of a sudden Arch Manning, wakes up and fires off a tweet or sends an announcement to ESPN or something like that one day. All this stuff's kind of connected, Trent, and I think especially that NFL route is very interesting to me.
Yeah, no doubt. And you mentioned how much Kirby Smart's respected. I think Todd Monken as well is respected among
Yep.
the the NFL ranks, and so yeah, I think that you're gonna start seeing some of this intertwined stuff, but like you're talking about Troy Bowles and wanting his son to play for Kirby Smart, because he's going to develop him to be ready for that next level, or that be ready for the NFL when that time comes. So there's no doubt about Kirby has built a major brand at the University of Georgia when it comes to the NFL.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think he's like I said, maybe the most respected coach in college football among his NFL peers out there. I'd say maybe except maybe Nick Saban, and maybe what Kirby's done. You could argue what Kirby's done at his young age is even more impressive. So it's quite interesting to see that dynamic of it. But guys, that has been this episode of UGA Sports Rumors versus Fact. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Turn on notifications. We greatly appreciate it. Tomorrow night, Roddy and Dane are going to be joined by guest Russ Tanner. Coach Donnan is traveling, got some stuff he's doing, but Russ Tanner, former Georgia center, is going to be on with Roddy and Dane at 8:00 tomorrow night. So you want to check in here on the YouTube channel for that. Make sure you subscribe on the podcast, the UGA Sports podcast, on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get them. We always appreciate every platform that you guys check us out on, and of course be a member of the UGA Sports Vault. But we appreciate all you guys tuning in. For Trent Smallwood, I am Blaine Gilmer. Jed May will be back with us next Monday night at 8:15 for another episode. So appreciate you guys, and we will catch you next time on UGA Sports Rumors versus Facts.